Welcome to the third in our series of 4 videos on doing a systematic review. In this video we'll be looking at steps 5 and 6 in the process, that is managing your search results using Desktop EndNote and screening your results, a title and abstract, full text and then evaluating the quality. We recommend using Desktop EndNote to manage your search results. This is freely available to university members and allows you to download accurate references from each database you search. It has a deduplication tool and you can also use it to find full text and automatically attach the PDFs to your references where possible. It also has groups so you can use those for managing the screening process. If you're not already familiar with using Desktop EndNote, you can find guidance and videos in our Desktop EndNote guide, and there's also a separate video on using it for a systematic review. Here is an outline of the steps involved in collecting references into EndNote. So first of all, before you start, you need an empty EndNote library. So you might want to create a new one or just get rid of all the references that are in your current library. Then you need to create some groups to help with the filtering. So we suggest include and exclude groups for that title and abstract stage, and then final selection and final rejection groups for the final full text stage. Once you've done that, you can download the references from each of your databases to create one big set of references for your topic. Make sure you keep a note of how many you downloaded from each database, and also make sure you download the abstract to help with that initial filtering. Once you've got them all into EndNote, you then need to deduplicate. So there is an automated tool within EndNote to help you with this, but it's not a perfect tool. So once you've run that, you will need to go through and just scan through your library, looking for any extra duplicates that you just move into trash. Once you've done that, keep a note of the total number that's left in your library. That will be the total number of unique references, and also the number that you have in trash, because you then need to record that number in your Prisma. Step 6 is to screen references. So firstly, you need to read the title and the abstracts of each article and evaluate them against your inclusion and exclusion criteria. And then as you make that decision as to whether they're relevant or not, move them into your include or exclude group. If you're not sure, put it in your include group and you can then try and get hold of the full article to make a final decision. Once you've done that, every reference in your library should be in one or other of those two groups, and make a note of the numbers that you have in each group. Then you can concentrate on the ones in that include group and try and get the full text. So you can do this by using the Find Full Text tool within EndNote itself, which will work well for any open access articles. Those that it doesn't find, try searching on Summon or Google Scholar to try and download the PDF, which you can then attach to the relevant reference in EndNote. You'll soon be able to see which ones you haven't got, because they won't have a paperclip displaying next to them. So you'll then need to look at each of those and decide whether they look like really useful articles that you need, and you can request those through our Interlibrary Loans service. You can exclude those that you can't get hold of, so look at things like the number of pages, or you may find it's just an abstract from a conference paper and there won't be anything fuller. So be selective as to which ones you request Interlibrary Loans for. So once you've got the full articles, read them, make your final decisions and move the references into your final selection and final rejection groups. Make sure you keep a note of the reasons why you reject the articles at this stage, because you'll need to record that in your Prisma diagram. So you could record those reasons in the research notes field within EndNote itself, or you could just keep a separate note somewhere in a Word document or on a bit of paper listing your reasons and how many articles you've excluded for those reasons. And then make a note of the final numbers in your final selection and final rejection groups. Once you have your final set of references, you need to think about the quality of those studies and evaluate that, and you should discuss this aspect with your supervisor. Not all of the studies will have a sufficiently rigorous methodology to avoid biased results, so you need to think about things such as, are the results valid? what are the results and do the results apply to the population you are studying. There are various checklists you can use for evaluating different types of study, and these are linked from our systematic review guide. We've now run through the first 6 steps in doing a systematic review. The last video covers writing it up.